I want to talk specifically this morning, a really miraculous transformation that occurs. And I want you to hear my heart on this. I don't want to talk bad about HollyKem's mom at all, but I just kind of want to roll out some
Give
of
the
the
truth.
facts. Yeah. And because she is a good woman, she has a good heart, and she's been very good to me over the years. I've talked to even Helen, HollyKem's mom herself, and the time that when HollyKem was growing up, what was going on in her life, and would readily admit that she was not a good mother at all. Part of the problem was she just didn't have an ability to attach. The attachment of a child to a mom is so important
Mhm.
in terms of development. Children were more of a bothersome than they were something that she really wanted to be doing. She had very problems with rage, problems with anger, was very physically I would say, violent towards her children. It's just a very difficult
Mhm.
upbringing HollyKem had. So I've had to watch HollyKem navigate that relationship over the years. And what's extraordinary is HollyKem's ability to treat her with love, to not be resentful, to interact with her as an adult woman, to her mom as an adult woman, and to honor her. I want HollyKem to walk us through the process of how did she get from so much neglect and hurt to a place of freedom, and how do you clear those relationships to where you're able to interact in a way today with this other individual and being able to basically reconcile and let go of the history.
Let's go. Yeah, all that's true what Dean said, a lot of abuse and a lot of neglect. Through my drug addiction and codependency relationships, what my mother did, what my mother's protector did to me was the same thing that I did to me. So she was neglective of me. My protector was neglective of me. She was verbally abusive to me. My protector was verbally abusive to me. So the same name she called me was the same names my protector called me. So once I had to learn to forgive myself on how I treated myself, I realized I had to learn to forgive her, her protector, for the way she treated me and herself. And through that, by understanding my own wounds of how, I had my own wounded child, my mom's had a wounded child as well, which I did know a lot about, over the years. So it didn't excuse it. It just gave me compassion for her, which then allowed me to have compassion for myself. So through that process of looking at the facts, there's a difference between blaming someone and having the facts. And I'm all about fact finding. So finding the facts and then moving from there. And there was a lot of consequences from that relationship. I never wanted children because I was so afraid I would become her. And that was terrifying to me. So, it's a miracle that we have Moses. And, I have to say, I did a really good job. I know there's many things I could have done a lot better, but I feel like I did a good job. I was able to attach. I was able to risk. I was able to not be his friend. I was able to set lots of boundaries, be a mother, and the mother, not just the mother I thought I wanted, but a mother that I studied that I thought was the healthiest mother, which I had to study. I didn't even know a nursery rhyme when I got Moses because no one ever read me a book. No one ever sang a nursery rhyme to me. So there was lots to learn. But through the process with my mom, what I realized in my sobriety, early in my sobriety, was that she was a good telephone mom. So, yeah. So I would call her and I would say things to her, and I would actually tell her what I wanted her to tell me. So I would say, Mom, I know you really love me. And she says, I do, I do. And I would say, Mom, I know you would have always done anything to help me if you had the ability. I would. And she would validate that. It didn't take away the facts, and it also let her see that I had forgiven her. And she would say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I beat you as a kid. I could have killed you when you were a kid. I said, I know, I was there. I remember. And I would laugh, but it was because there was some honesty for her, and she was sorry, and she is sorry for what she's done, and she has to live with that, and that's really hard for her.
HollyKem and I lead an online program called Transform You. It's an intensive online coaching program for individuals and couples. If that's something that you're interested in, click on the link below and we'll get you some information. Now back to the teaching.
She still has non-ability to attach, and where I've learned to go with that is to take off the expectations. And, that is probably the largest key that I could give anyone, is that I have a lot of expectations on God. I have a lot of expectations on Jesus because of the promises in the word. He says it, his word will not come back to him void. I take him by his word, and that's who I trust. And I also trust him to bring me people in my life that do motherly things, or I see them doing motherly things. And then I receive it maybe through the spiritual realm, or I embrace it to do it for my son. And one of the problems that we can have is that if we give our kids, or our spouse gives our kids something we didn't get, like our wounded child didn't get, our protector can get really upset. It's like, it makes us think like, well, what's so wrong with me? Why wasn't I loved enough? Well, one of the things that I learned was that really helped me was that no matter who my mother's child was, if it was Mama Kelly, if it was Rhonda, if it was Tyler, if it was Ananda, Dean, it didn't matter. She was still going to be the same mother. And that helped me so much. It was who she was. It didn't matter who her child was. It was just her wounds and her life, and, the way her mind worked. And she was the mother that she was. And she always said, I never wanted to be a mother. I never wanted to be a mother. So, she knew she was incapable, So in that, being able to embrace the truth and know that it just happens to be where I was. Now, one thing that you get if you're a motherless child, even though you have a mother, is I can see a need from here to New York. I can walk in a room and see somebody that has a wound, and because I had them. And so I can, if God sends me to that person to say hello or whatever, or sometimes I just pray for that person from far. I may not know exactly what's the issue, but I have compassion in my heart for them. I can walk in a classroom and pick every neglected child. It can be neglected due to wealth. It can be neglect due to poverty, through divorce, relationship. It could be a lot of things, but I can pick it out. So, that's the gifts I received. So what I've really worked on is just really absorbing the gifts that I received from the neglect and the abuse. And I'm not afraid, you know, I'm not afraid of someone's hurt or someone's abuse or neglect. Like, I know how to embrace that. And that's from learning how to embrace my own. If I cannot be my true self when I am talking to my mother, I don't call. If I'm going to be my wounded child or my protector, I don't call. If I can only stay my true self for 20 minutes on the phone or 10 minutes on the phone, I get off at 8 minutes, or I get off at 12 minutes or 15 minutes. So my goal is to really be in my true self, when I communicate to her. And my goal is to love her where she is with no expectations. I'm not going to get mothered. I'm not going to get anything. I may not get, nothing. She will say she loves me. She will say that no matter what. And but sometimes she does really, really good and it's awesome. And sometimes she doesn't. But it's not about what she can do. It's about what I can do. I had made a decision a long time ago. I'm not going to get drunk for anybody. Nobody's going to put me into a situation where I'm going to take a drink or do dope. It's not happening. I've already done that, been there, abused myself enough, neglected myself enough. So, what I've made a decision, if I want to look at God and look in Jesus' eyes and say, I've been a good daughter, then that's about me. That has nothing to do with what kind of mother she is. So, when I speak to her, I speak to her as though she's the best mother. Now, if she does something, if her protector comes at me or, she's inappropriate, I am very direct. I mean, there was a time when she came at me trying to tell me something, and I said, let me tell, and I'll call her by her first name. Helen, let me tell you something. We're not putting up with this. Now, I will be very direct, just like I would be anybody else. But when things are, somewhat normal, whatever the hell that means, I will speak to her and be just, I hope you're doing good. How you doing? And she'll give me whatever she says. And usually I'm like, I'm really sorry that's happening, because I am sorry that's happening. I'm just not her savior, or I'm not going to be able to fix it. I know that I can't fix it. I can't save her. I just have to be the best daughter that I can be, where when I look in God's eyes, that, I had a loving heart when I communicated to her. I cared about her. I don't want anything bad to happen to her. And, I asked Jesus to be with her all the time and to, help her forgive herself for what she's lived through, what she's had to put up with, and what she's done. Because she is a good person. She's just been very wounded and very wounding.